Hello and welcome. So this little video, I'm just gonna show you how to use this kit that's provided with the M2 Slim joysticks. This particular kit is probably unique to this batch of sticks that was sold. We will be replacing this part for a standoff, which is probably not going to be this long. It'll probably be this long. And this is an M3 standoff. This is just what I have laying around, but we can use the standoff to screw down the adapter so that it holds the cap screw head at the right height. Instead of using our joystick screw threads to crank it down, we're going to be using something that doesn't matter so much if some of the threads get slightly damaged. So in this case, we're using this piece, which is 3D printed and it has a brass insert inside of it. So let's open up the kit, and doing so over a desk because it has lots of small parts inside. So we'll just open it up. Yours will have a QR code that's taking you directly to this video that we're currently watching. Okay, and then what's inside? So in this kit we have this shorter adapter. So if you can, here, let's put these down for now. You really only need one of these, or two of them, depending on what kind of caps you have, but you see the difference. There's one shorter and one taller. The tall one is for Dow caps, as people call them. And then the short one is for Steel Sticks 64 caps. Now this tall one is for if you've bought your Dow grippy caps, for example, in the last within the last year, you're going to want this taller one. I've set the cap screw head slightly lower. If you bought your Dow grippy caps a long time ago, like when the project was starting, I was very closely mimicking Linus's screw head depth, so you would probably want to try to use this one. You'll have to experiment depending if you're in that gray area between within the last year or not. You might want to experiment with either one. What else is in the kit? You have an extra titanium Torx screw, and I would recommend only using any countersunk screws like this. So for your slim stick, you want a screw that is 10 millimeters overall length, give or take. So that's a 10 millimeter long screw. Countersunk screws, the nominal length of the screw is not the thread length, it is the overall length of the screw. So keep that in mind. This screw has about 8 millimeters of functional thread, and that's what I will provide with all the grippy caps for M2 that are specifically for slim joysticks. So we just have an extra screw in here. If you already have a slim joystick, you probably already have a cap on it that has been made specifically for smash. It's smoother. It's not one of the grippy caps. I call that one the simple cap. It has knurling, but it doesn't have that more rough texture. Now this thing has a heat set insert or heat set nut in it, and it's been 3D printed. Now why is it in this shape? It's just so that you can grasp it with something like pliers. You can use pliers to grasp it while you're holding it so it doesn't rotate while you're putting the cap on, or you can use a drill chuck like so, you can put the tool in there basically, like so, and then just tighten it down like so. Okay. So what the brass threads are held. Sorry, my light keeps glitching. I might let me pause this video and get some more battery for my light so it doesn't go out. Hold on a second. There we go. So I just switched out a different light. So okay, back to what I was saying. So this it has brass threads in it so that they won't strip when you put some high forces on this tool. But down the road we'll be using an aluminum, an anodized standoff as a source of female threads. So what's the process here? So basically we're going to make a screw like this with the 3D printed part on the end of the screw there. So the process is the same for both caps, but one thing, there are some nuances between the two types of caps. I would say the later Dow caps have they have a clearance hole in them, in the cap. So if I drop the screw in, I can just push it in like that, which means that for the amount of clearance in this cap is about 2/100ths of a millimeter, which is very, very small. It doesn't wiggle. There's no wiggle at all. But I noticed that the hole size that I've chosen for my especially most recent caps compared to Linus's caps is Linus has almost a pretty much straight 3mm hole. So he's got like there's a tighter fit in his cap. So one of the things that I've gotten feedback on from people, they like how Linus has positioned the screw such that it sits basically almost flush in the cap. It's hard to see on this black cap, but it's not sitting low, and it's not sitting above the plane of the top plane of the cap. So we're going to make a screw like that has M2 threads. So if we have a dowel cap that we want to have M2 threads, like an M3 dowel cap, we'll use the tall adapter. If we have a Joysticks cap, we'll use the shorter adapter. So let's just do the short one on the Joysticks cap I have here. So if you have purchased a slim V4 joystick from me, you will have one of these T6 wrenches in your box, and you can use that wrench to help you insert this insert into the cap. So you just put it on the end of your wrench and then push it into place. Oh, sorry, I was looking through the camera viewfinder, and I was actually holding the wrong adapter. So this is the short adapter compared to the longer adapter. Not a huge difference, about a millimeter difference, but so we'll just push that in. There we go. Now the adapter is now in, and then pull the wrench out. You see the adapter there. And so what we actually need to do is when you 3D print a hole, there's a certain limit in how much wall thickness you can have. Like, it needs to be a certain thickness, and I could not print a hole that would be a clearance hole for the M2 screw. We put these rubber pieces on here just so they didn't get lost when you open the bag, but you're going to need to take those off when you're installing this. We'll just put them here. Be careful not to fold them in your fingers and let go of them, because they'll spring like a rubbery spring that will just go flying. So they're visible, or put them in a parts tray or something where they don't get lost. Now we're taking this screw, and I've just kind of started threading it into there. So at first it'll start going in pretty easily. The Joysticks caps actually have a tighter grip on the adapter, and so they don't tend to start rotating while you're threading it down. If you start getting it through the other side like I am, it will rotate a lot easier, a lot easier. So just holding it in your fingers like I'm doing, and getting it until it goes basically as low as it feels like it wants to go. It'll start to spin if you get it to the bottom. There, now you'll kind of feel it, and it wants to spin now. So if you notice, now the cap screw is actually sticking up a little bit. That's okay. I've designed it intentionally like that, and here's why. When you start to screw in the cap into your joystick, it will naturally, the material will compress a little, and it wants to suck the screw in a little bit deeper. So what I actually have done is I've actually it's almost like a pre-shrunk cotton shirt, you know. I've designed it so that when it shrinks into the cap, it will be at the ideal place relative to the top plane of the cap. The screw will be in the right place relative to the top plane of the cap. So now what I'm doing is I'm just threading this onto that insert that we stuck in this drill chuck. You could also use pliers or something, anything that will hold this for you so that it doesn't rotate. And so now I'm using the wrench to torque it down until I feel like it's pretty much at the right location. So now it's flush with the top plane of the joystick cap, and now we're just going to take it off. So that other piece that we provided, the 3D printed piece, which will be an M2 standoff in successive orders, that other piece was simply just to allow us to pull the screw down into the joystick cap where it should be. I didn't want us to use your joystick for that, because this is a very we don't want to harm the threads in your joystick. And also it kind of gives you a feel for how much tension your joystick cap screw can handle. I guess torque, I should say. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I'm putting the rubber washers on. Sometimes the rubber washers that are included in this particular kit are clear. Sometimes they're black. It doesn't matter which one's which. They both work the same. In the future, we'll just use black ones because they're easier to see on a tabletop like so. And then so you put the flat washer down first, and then take the donut shaped O-ring, and we're going to put that onto the screw as well. And if you want, you can use something that has a hole in it, like an M2 hole, to push it down, or you can just use your fingers. In case you ever wondered why I have long fingernails, it's because I play guitar. I use them to play guitar, so that's why I have gross long fingernails. Okay, so now that's like that, and we are going to put this on the joystick, and it's very simple now. Okay, see how it's sticking up from the joystick? That donut-shaped O-ring is going to suck into, it's going to suck down into the chamfer on top of it. And I'm tightening it down only to the point where it just feels like, it feels pretty tight, but I'm not just going to keep going. Those M2 threads are more fragile. And you can check and see how strong it is. I think it could use a little more torque, so if you can, you'll feel it like wanting to unthread itself. So just give it just enough so that it feels like it's at its end. You're not trying to force it past its end. Now it's holding pretty well. That's a reasonable amount of torque, I would say. So that's a qualitative way of torquing it on there. If you have a torque driver, 0.17 Newton meters or 0.25 inch-pounds of torque to this screw will be perfect. But there, now we've got a Joysticks 64 cap with this titanium screw in the M2 threaded joystick. So now some words about this screw. So it's silver in color. Titanium is a very amazing metal. You can actually take a blue flame to titanium and you can change the color of it, and you can do it in a pretty controlled way. You can just, if you ever are curious about that, you can YouTube flame anodizing titanium. So that was the install of the Joysticks 64 cap adapter. So I'm going to take these washers off because I'll just demonstrate also the Dow cap as well, just to show slight nuances between the two. I'm going to use the same rubber washer and O-ring. So all of the V4 Slim joysticks require these rubber O-rings and washers. And we'll put a link in the description in case you want to buy more of those. But I'll just describe it. It's this is a 3mm overall diameter O-ring with a 1mm cross section. So the cross-sectional area of that tube that's in a circle is 1mm thick, and it actually only has 1mm in the center of it, but that 1mm stretches over the cap screw. And then this is a 2mm, it's got a 2mm internal diameter and a 4mm external diameter and a 0.5 millimeter vertical height. It's a rubber washer. Okay, so now let's say later you don't want to use this cap for this particular M2 threaded joystick. You want to use it for an M3 threaded joystick. How do you get the cap out, or this cap screw out? It's really in there once you get it in. You can, it's very easy. Just push it down on something flat like that, and then it comes right out like so. So let me pause the video. I'm going to grab some pliers. Okay, got my pliers. Now, something to note. Somebody might think, hey, why can't I just take some pliers, hold the adapter, and then thread the screw into the adapter? Well, if you do that, you will smush the adapter, and it'll be a lot harder to get it into the cap. The way the adapter is, it's designed to press fit in, and if you smush it, you'll change the geometry of it, and it'll make it a lot more challenging to get it into the cap, and it might even damage your cap if you do it like that. If it's got protruding ridges from this pressing into it. Does that make sense? But so that's why we included two of each kind of adapter. I noticed that there's another Steel 664. We put 2 and 2, so 2 Tau cap adapters and 2 Steel 664 adapters in there. So because when you take the adapter off of the screw, it's almost unusable. You could theoretically use it, but you might want to try to press it into a 3mm hole and then press it out just so that it presses those ridges off that occur when you take the screw off out of the adapter. So I have to kind of squeeze down on that adapter to get it to start turning. So if you're going to install this adapter, I recommend following the procedure that I just outlined earlier in this video. So basically now we'll just demonstrate the Dow cap adapter, which is pretty much the same procedure. So here's a Gravitos grippy cap, which was made in the last year, and we're using this. Sorry, my camera's gone out of focus. There we go. We're using this taller adapter for the more recent Dow grippy caps. If you bought it probably more than a year ago, I would say it's likely that one of those Steel Stick 64 adapters will work. The shorter one. You might have to experiment with that. But anyway, just put the adapter on the end of your wrench, press it into the cap like so. It takes a little bit of force. Pull your wrench out. Oh, sorry, my adapter didn't. Let me try and keep it in there this time. Push it in. You notice that the Dow hole is slightly bigger, so I actually use my fingernail to keep it in the hole, and it will go down when I start to put the screw in. I'll push it down as I'm pushing the screw in. So with this the Dow caps, since they have that clearance hole, it was quite difficult for me to get the overall diameter as exactly perfect, but it's pretty close. And sometimes you'll notice that it won't rotate. It'll actually it'll function exactly the same as the Steel Stick 64 cap adapter. And right now I can tell that it's not rotating, it's actually holding really well. But if it starts rotating, just put a little bit more force this way when you're screwing it in. Yep, it didn't rotate on me, so it should be fine, but just in case, use that tip, a little more downward force if it just starts spinning. Every part has a slight variation, so I mean, on all parts, even Linus's parts, that if that happens with a Linus cap, do the same thing. A little more downward force. Okay, now it's at the bottom, and the adapter is starting to rotate, so it's not going to thread anymore. But as you can see, it's sticking up a little bit. Like, we expect that. That's normal. And then you can take your little tool, basically any M2 threaded object that's long enough. I would say any M2 threaded object besides your joystick. Screw it down onto that, and then basically, you see how it's lifted up. We're gonna help that screw go into its rightful place, which is basically flat with the top plane of the cap. And now you can run your finger over it, and you don't feel this. Oh, sorry. You run your finger over it. You don't feel the screw sticking up. That's what you want. I'm going to go just a little deeper. I can still feel the screw a little bit. Oop, my camera wants to fall over. There we go. Let's let it focus. There we go. That feels perfect to me. So now I'm just going to unscrew the cap from that tool, and it's in there so tightly that this cap and the screw will kind of act as one unit. And then just the same, it's basically required to use these rubber washers with your slim joysticks. That way you can prevent your cap from coming undone while you're playing, and it limits the amount of torque that you're tempted to use on these smaller M2 screws and smaller, more fine M2 threads in the joystick. It protects the screw and the joystick from over torquing. So now we have and that's a pretty good amount of torque. That feels great. So now we have an M3 Dow grippy cap that's been converted to M2 threads, and it looks very professional. It looks like it was designed for that screw. And if you don't like silver for your screw, you can flame anodize it, or you can buy a 10mm long any screw, countersunk screw with M2 threads. There's a standardized head size and shape for countersunk screws, like basically manufactured in China. And T6 is the standard Torx size, so I would recommend using Torx. I think it's beautiful. I love that Star of David pattern, and it's very resistant to stripping. The drive hole is very resistant to stripping. But yep, I would highly recommend, if you want to use any caps that you already have, I would highly recommend using this adapter that I've worked pretty hard to bring into being, and I'm really proud of the results, and I hope you really enjoy the results while you're playing with whatever your favorite cap is. Thank you for all your support, and thank you for just the love that you've shared with me in this project. It's been a wonderful experience sharing with my friends creatively, and it's not just me that is creating this stuff. It's you too, because without your support financially with the project, it really just wouldn't happen. So I really enjoy making these things, and I enjoy your enjoyment of whatever you're doing, and also enjoy your enjoyment of the things that I create. So many blessings, and hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.